Hello, good morning all. On behalf of India City was New Delhi, supported by Ministry of Tourism and Government of India. I am very happy to welcome you all to the historical land of Kochi, popularly known as the Queen of Arabian Sea in our God's own country, Kerala. The India Citywide Festival is designed to bring India's built legacy and wax more close to all. I am Abdul Kader, hosting the event on behalf of India Citywise, and thanks to India Citywise for giving me this opportunity. Let us try to explore the colonial remnants and cultural heritage here. I hope I am audible to all. First of all, uh, what is our cultural heritage? In fact, it is our legacy from the past and what we live with in the present and what we pass to the future generations. It will learn from it. And now let me share the screen, the presentation. I hope it is visible to all of you. If you comment, it will be very easy for me. And before we start the work, I would like to say a few words about the historic city of Kochi. As you know, the old part of Cochin you see in this picture is part of the main city Ernakulam. The major part of the commercial area is Ernakulam, but we are not going to see it. We are in the old part of Cochin. That is we are now seeing in the picture. We are here near this beach. The Vasco da Gama Square is here, and today we will be visiting the most important historical places. Uh, let's begin from this Vasco da Gama Square. We will be seeing the Bastion Bungalow, the historic St. Francis Church. Then there is a Vasco House where Vasco da Gama lived for a long time. And of course the Santa Cruz Cathedral, the Dobikana, and besides, we also go to Matancheri, where the the historic Dutch Palace and the Jewish synagogue sits. So before starting our work, uh, I'd like to tell you a few words about the history of Cochin. Cochin is a small heritage town situated in the central part of Kerala on the southwest tip of India in Ernakulam district. As you know, Kerala is famous for its natural beauty and scenic locations and cultural heritage. It has a long history of art and cultural heritage and foreign trade relations, especially with the spices among many ancient countries from the time immemorial. This state was formed on 1st November 1956 with a total area of 38,862 square kilometers, rich with 44 rivers and diversity of culture, and more than 600 kilometers of seashore on the western side, Arabian Sea. That you can see in the map, you can see Arabian Sea on that side. And also, you may be aware of the fact that the first European church and the first mosque in India were built in Kerala, ruled by the three major European powers for more than 4.5 centuries. That is from 1500 to 1947. Many eminent persons like Vasco da Gama, Saint Francis Xavier, Van Reed, Abdul, etc., left their footprints in this historical land. Even before the Chinese, the Greek, the Chinese, the Greek, the Phoenicians, the Arabs. The Israelis all had trade relations with our Kerala, which was famous for coconuts and spices. This small town still remains its colonial character and old world charm. The government has already declared this old part of Kochi as a heritage area, and it is well kept. Its narrow paved lines and old Dutch and British bungalows, cages and bookshops, churches and mosques, and elegant Chinese fishing nets. And this town has chosen, you know that most of you know that it has chosen to host India's first Binale, that is Kochi Mushris Binale, during 1912-13. As a result, the colorful graffiti adorns the walls, windows, and even the trees of Fort Kochi, uh, adding much to the delight of a tourist. Of course, the best way to experience the faces of Kochi is to explore the town by walk. Now we are doing a virtual walk. In fact, if you do a real walk, it was more interesting. I think we can do it in the near future. Of course, Cochin is a cradle of many civilizations. More than 39, it is amazing to know that more than 39 communities from different parts of India settled around here, and they are all living in harmony and peace. And it's very interesting. It is amazing, because these different communities with the diverse culture and traditions are living harmoniously for a long time. Today, we will be visiting some of the most important places around here. And now, the picture you one thing you can watch. We are in the old part of Matancheri, and in the west side you are seeing the Arabian Sea, and on the front side there's an island called Waipi that you can see there. It's one of the biggest islands in Ernakulam. More than 5 islands over here. We are actually standing in the mainland, the part of the mainland. And this Waipin is around 24 kilometers long, and it is a natural island which was formed during the flood in the year 1341. No, before in fact, the history of Kochi starts after 1341 because there was a heavy flood happened in that year, and our former capital, the former historical capital, Muziris. Many of you might have heard about Muziris. It was part of it is part of the history. From the time immemorial, all the people from different parts of the world, they had trade relations with Kerala, especially spices. And all the big ships came to this Muziris. It is about 36 kilometers away from here. It was during that flood that port was damaged, and at the same time, this White Pin Island was formed at that time, and the natural harbor originated in Cochin, and then begins the actual history of Cochin. And beside the Waipin Island, you can see Gundu Island. Formerly, there was coir factory here. Now it is not working. It is only 5 acres of land. And beside there, you can see an island. It is Vallarpadam. Now the international containment terminal is here. Very big ships reach here. Uh, and there are few more islands. There's one Bolgati Island is there. Then besides that, close to our Port Kochi and Matanjeri, you can see the tip of this Wellington Island. It was a man-made island that was built during 930s at the time of the deepening of Cochin Port. It is all the mud and waste all heaped here formed this island. Now many government offices, the port office and our Ministry of Tourism, India Tourism Office also situates here. Besides, one of the oldest five-star hotel, Malabar Hotel, also here, and many offices there. So I just give you an idea about this geography. So okay, now we are standing near the before that, you can see the some few pictures of the main city. You see, it's the first picture. It is a view from the lake, and the second one is a night view, and on the third one, there is the Ernakulam boat jetty, and behind that boat jetty, you can see a big building. It is actually our government Kerala Tourism regional office is here, and there's one information office also there. And the background, you can see the famous Taj hotel. And the other one is about the MG Road, the busy area, busy business center in Ernakulam. Just for that, just for information. And our work starts from here. This is the Vasco da Gama Square. It was built in memory of Vasco da Gama. You know, the Portuguese navigator Vasco da Gama was first visited here in the year 1502. They were the first Europeans to reach Kerala. Actually, his first visit to Kerala was in 1498. It is at a place called Kapad near Calicut, 230 kilometers from north of Cochin. Vasco da Gama was born in a few words about Vasco da Gama. He was born in the year 1460 in the place called Sines in Portugal, port city of Portugal, and his father was a civil governor. From his young age, he was interested in adventure and travel. By the time of expedition to India, he was a good navigator at the age of 36. He was his fair, stout, arrogant, and gallant, unyielding personality, ready to face any situation, helped him to reach here. His family consists of his wife and seven children. It was in July 1497 he led a group out of Portugal and reached Calicut in Kerala. That is in May 1498. See, it took more around 1 year to reach here. And the present time, it will take only a few hours to reach Portugal. You see, all the difficulties, all the challenges they faced to reach Cochin, Kerala after 1 year after their departure. It was during his second visit in 1502 he reached Cochin. So first time he came to Calicut, and later he returned to Portugal, and then he came again in the year 1502. And it was during that time they got a permission to build the Emmanuel Fort here. You know, the name the Fort Kochi originally originates from this fort, Emmanuel Fort. You can see behind that Vasco da Gama Square. You can see the part of the fortification. Now there's one Bastion Bengalo is there. It's a museum now, and it's a museum now. Um, Later, it's we will discuss more historical facts on the way. Again, after his return, he again came in the year 1524 here, and when he was appointed as the viceroy to India. But unfortunately, after he reached uh, Cochin, he died on the morning of uh, December 1524 due to fever. Unfortunately, he died here. He was living at a place called Vasco House, that's near our St. Francis Church. We will be seeing that place. Um, and Vasco da Gama lies buried inside the St. Francis Church. That will be moving to that place later. So here you are seeing the picture of Vasco da Gama. Um, you can see the picture of Vasco da Gama near here, and also on this side, on the right side, you can see few foreign tourists. They are people from Germany. They are my guests during 2018, I think. So they are sitting there, chatting and talking, and it is very interesting place. It is very cool, and a lot of let's say, rain trees are here. Uh, these rain trees are very famous in Cochin. Most of these very big trees, they are 150 to 200 years old, very strong and very is giving very good shade, and its branches spread vast. Uh, and near this Vasco da Gama Square, you may be watching this Chinese fishing nets. The Chinese fishing nets, you can see Chinese fishing nets. It is a very beautiful scene here. The Chinese fishing nets is the most important attraction in Fort Kochi, and every tourist who comes here they enjoy much. And on the left side, of course, you can see few tourists from Germany. They are pulling this. They are helping the fishermen by pulling the ropes and see the beautiful scene. This Chinese fishing nets. It was, in fact, it was introduced by the traders from the court of Emperor Kublai Khan from China during 13th century. It is still active here on both sides of the estuary of Cochin ports. And now you are watching the net pulling up with the fish. You can see they are pulling the fish, the net, and they get more fish at the time of they get more fish at the time of high tide. It depends on the tide. Mostly they operate in the morning and evening. This fishing net established on the Cochin shores, as I already told, between 1350 and 1450 AD. These Chinese nets made of teak wood and bamboo poles work on a cantilever with an attached net that is spread over an area of 20 meters. You see, it's a vast, big area. Counterweights, usually stones about 30 centimeters in diameter, tied to ropes of different lengths, facilitate the working of these nets. Often, lights attached to the teak posts are suspended above the net to attract the fish. So, seeing the light, you can see in the picture, seeing the light, more fish will come near it. Fishing is usually done in the morning and evening, as I already told, and this net is descended in the water for a short time and then raised delicately by pulling on the ropes. And the slow rhythm and the balancing of the net is spellbound and to a first time viewer. Even it is interesting, even if we see it many times, every time it is an experience. And all the tourists who come here experience this. They will enjoy it. Yeah. It's very interesting. See another picture of the Chinese fishing net. You can see the small boats, the travelers are going around, moving around, and it's the background. You are seeing that Vallabhadam International Container Terminal. See, it's very big ships can be come here so close to the ports. And of course, this is again another view of the sunset view in the background. It's very attractive here. And here, there's a sunset trip every day to see the sunset in the sea. That's operating from the main Ernakulam. This kind of international. This is conducted by uh, an bingo. Yeah, that's operates every day. It's very interesting. And on the left side, you're seeing tourists walking through the streets of Fort Kochi. You know, it was a everyday scene in Cochin, but now there's nobody here. Only local people and very few domestic tourists from northern sides comes here. Again, the jubilant moments of their enjoyment, they are helping to pull this. And here you see the fish caught here. This is not mainly from the fishing names, it's from the fishing boats. The fish collected from the Chinese fishing nets also kept here. You can see different kinds of fish like sardine, tuna, mackerel, carpfish. It is very famous. Carpfish is in the bottom. It's a very tasty fish here. Then the Chinese fishing nets, they catch mainly silverfish. Many local varieties. And when we talk about Fort Cochin, this we can't forget the Cochin Carnival. Cochin Carnival celebrates every December, the last day of December. It is a great day of enjoyment for the people of Cochin. Irrespective of caste and community and religious beliefs, uh, everybody come here, present their traditional art forms, fancy dress competitions, and it is a jubilant time. Everybody is enjoying. Uh, Everybody is enjoying with their acting their part. Irrespective of, as already I told you, different communities are living here. They are living in harmony, and their traditions are exhibited here. And it is very very fabulous day. They are all enjoying together. And later, I'll show you a video on Cochin Carnival. So it will be more interesting for you. And in this photo, you can see the decorated. Every part of Fort Kochi will be decorated like this. And also you can see the very big rain trees in one of the picture. And this is only regarding the coverage of the Cochin Carnival. It's only just a photo to show you. This photo already you have seen this. These people, these tourists, they are walking through the streets of Fort Kochi. They are on the way to St. Francis Church. We are also on the way to St. Francis Church. And here is another scene. This traditional, the colonial street. You see the old buildings, the architecture, all the European style of architecture. All this kept now. And sometimes if you walk through these streets, you feel like going to or walking through the streets in London or some other foreign countries. It's so attractive, and the people too. Uh, and here are some old buildings, all traditional colonial buildings, all the traditional, and at the same time, it has a colonial touch. And one picture, the second one, it's all owned by the local people now. Formerly, the first building, this building was owned by British people. Now it is owned by somebody from our state. And down is another palace. This one, actually I mentioned about one Bolgati Island. This palace, it is at Bolgati Island. It is a Dutch palace. The Dutch people made it. It was built in 1744 by the Dutch, and it was headquarters of the Dutch viceroy. And now it is a hotel run by Kerala Tourism Development Corporation. And on this right side is a view of part of the Jewish synagogue. It's a view from Dutch palace that we will discuss later. And in the meantime, I like to mention that the colonial period that started from 1500 to 1947. During this period, Uh, the first were the Portuguese people uh, came here and settled. That was in 1500. They built the Emmanuel Fort, as I already told. It was a fort with the seven bastions. Only one bastion was left there. It was converted as the bastions Bengalo now. It was the Portuguese period. Actually, it was from 1502 to 1663. No, then it was the turn of the Dutch people. The Dutch people came here, and there was fighting, and there was many fightings between the king. The king joined with the few people, with the Portuguese, and actually the Dutch also fought, and they captured power, 1663. So from 1663 to 1795, the Dutch ruled here. And as I told, this Dutch palace that was built during the year 1744. And by the time 1795, the English people also came here. All these people from Europe, the English people, they also captured power, because they all these foreigners, they found the very suitable situation to interfere in the activities of the state. Actually, they were then what happened? These British people also came. They also captured power after a very fierce battle that with Dutch people on the one and the other side, and it was their turn from 1795 to 1947. As you know. So that is history. And this is the Bastion Bengalo. As I already told you, the Bastion Bengalo. It was part of the Emmanuel Fort. That was the first fort built around these shores of Fort Kochi. It was constructed by the Portuguese in the 16th century. When the Dutch took over Kochi in 1663, they destroyed the fort, reducing it to a third of its original size. Because it was a fierce battle, they destroyed everything. Only this part of this Bastion Bengalo is kept there. It was constructed during 1667 there, and gets the name from the Stormberg Bastion of the old Dutch fort Emmanuel Fort. The Stormberg Bastion was later transferred to this Bengalo. Only this part was left. All other things, all other part of the forts were destroyed by the Dutch people during that battle. Just you can imagine that time. And these are the two pictures of the same Bastion Bengalo. This Bastion Bengalo is now a museum, a heritage museum now. It was declared as a heritage museum in the year 2016. Now it is open to public. Then regarding this Bastion Bengalo, it was in 1806 the British invaded and destroyed this fort, but left the Bastion Bengalo here. As I already told, it was declared as a protected monument by the government, that was in 1990, and the Bengalo is situated in 90 cents of land. It was declared as a district heritage museum, as I already told. It is two-story building comprising of three halls, and there is a provision for setting up seven galleries to display the objects kept in the museum. The renovation work of the museum has been already completed, as I already told, um, but the museum has not started full functioning. And this gunnery, it is part of the Emmanuel Fort. You can see this gunnery. It is facing the Arabian Sea. Uh, we can imagine a time when these foreign ships were coming here. all these warships, these trading ships, all this. This gunnery was it was a security measure to that time, and also it is mentioned there the part of Emmanuel uh, Forge. This gunnery was filled with powerful guns to keep a check on the coming ships was located. And the downside, you can see it is an old fort. I can see downstairs there's a way. It is said that there are underground ways to go to the palace and other places. It's an underground passage. It is not open. It's a very interesting place. And also by the side by the side of this falls, yeah, recently part of the basement of the Emmanuel Fort was it just appeared, during as some sand was dispersed from it was visible. And during the low tide time, even now, you can see the part of the basement with all laterite stones. And so we are just passing this. We are on this way, just coming to the oldest European church, the St. Francis Church. So it's only 100 meters from this Vasco da Gama Square and the Bastions Bengal. Even though it looks a simple church, historically it is very important. This church was built in the year 1503. It was built during 1503. Um, At first, it was wooden construction. That time the wooden construction or stone construction was not allowed. It was meant for the kings and the high class people only. But the Portuguese managed to get permission from the king uh, to build the church with a mixture of mud and wood. It was in the year 1506. They also got the permission from the Maharaja to use the stones here. The the reconstruction got all the year 1516, and the Portuguese dedicated the church to Saint Anthony at first. During the year 1663, as I already told you, the Dutch invaded the kingdom of Cochin, and the rule went into the hands of the Dutch people. Since the Dutch were Protestants, you know that the Portuguese were Roman Catholics and the Dutch were Protestants. So they demolished most of the churches around this area, but they kept this church undisturbed. And they began to practice the Protestant belief here. It was a Protestant church during the Dutch period. This church has a great historical relevance as it was silent witness to the European rivalry, all the European fights and the colonization in this area. Uh, Now, on the front side, you can see statue-like thing that is a memorial to the soldiers who died in the First World War. And now we are seeing the inside of this St. Francis Church. You see, it's very interesting. And even now, this church is live. The mass going on every Sunday, and at the time of the mass, public is not allowed. Uh, you can watch the top of the church. It looks like a boat turned down. You see, it's like the bottom portion of the boat is just like turned down, and see the beautiful architecture. It's very interesting. And here on the right side, You can see the tomb of Vasco da Gama. Few people are uh, standing here. The tomb of Vasco da Gama. Uh, he as I already told you, he died in Cochin in the year 1524 during his third visit and lies buried inside this church. But after 14 years, the remains were taken back and it was buried in Lisbon. And on the both sides, you can see a kind of old fan-like thing. You see, this is the traditional. It was used during that time. You can see the strings connected to outside, and somebody will be sitting outside. Some guards will be sitting outside, and will be drawing these strings, and this fan will work. You see, so they get very nice reels. It's very interesting. And here, this is also part of the Vasco da Gama, this the San Francis Church, as I already told you, just the tomb of Vasco da Gama. It is especially is shown here. Now it is the remains are not here, as I had already told you. It is taken to Lisbon, and on this here, right, on the right side of this walls, you can see the tombstones which are removed are kept on the right side of the wall. You see, that is the tombstones of the Dutch people on the right side and the tombstones of the Portuguese people on the left side. Okay. Okay, so that's that's the main things about St. Francis Church, and now we are moving to the other place called Dutch Cemetery, which is very close to um, St. Francis Church, and it is only walkable distance. This Dutch Cemetery, which was consecrated in the year 1724, is believed to be the oldest in the country. The cemetery, built in the style of Dutch architecture of that time, is surrounded by walls and the year 1724 is shown on the entrance pillar. Every sandstone, every tombstone has a story of a historic past, of pride and power. Here, there are more than 104 tombs here. They're constructed in the typical Dutch architecture style, and the inscriptions are all in Dutch script. And here lies buried many Dutch governors, commanders, officials, and gents and ladies who died in Cochin. Actually, they being the Protestants, they were not willing to use the these cemeteries of Roman Catholics. So they built this separately, and they used it here. And behind this on the front side of this cemetery is Arabian Sea. You can see branches of trees here on the it's a small area, and uh, beyond it is the Arabian Sea and the walkway, the beach walkway. So there we just had a look at this. It is under the as it is written. It is the property of the Church of South India now. It is under their custody. It is not open. Only at times with a special permission we can enter into this cemetery. Formerly, it was not kept well. But during the visit of the Dutch king last 2 years back, this was made very beautiful now. And I have already mentioned you about the Vasco House. This is the Vasco House on the left side. You know, the famous Portuguese explorer Admiral Vasco da Gama, who lived here in this Vasco House. It is still kept as it was, now turned to as a homestay. Built in the early 16th century, Vasco House sports the typical European glass-paned windows and balcony-cum verandas, characteristic of those times. And this house, more than 500 years old, is in Ross Street, in the Ross Street at Port Kochi, and the large glass paned windows open to us. It is behind St. Francis, So it is glass pans open to St. Francis Church. The windows are built in typical European style, and the balcony cum verandas are all architectural style of that time. It's very interesting to see, and all this place still keeps the colonial style. And this is behind this Vasco house. You can see it was the house of Yeshudas, the famous playback singer in Kerala. It was his ancestral house. Later, it was sold. It is not. It is owned by some others and homestays going there. Most all of you know about Yeshudas. He was he so always lends well to both Indian classical and popular songs. He has recorded more than 40,000 songs in many languages, including Tamil, Hindi, Malayalam, Kannada, Telugu, Gujarati, almost all Indian languages. Besides Russian, Arabic, and Latin, and of course English. Now it is homestay here. Very interesting to know that 2 years back, this place, the owner of this house, decided to sell it. And one condition he could provide was that you can see one mango tree in front of his house, and he says, Mr. Yeshudas want to water it every year once. So those who buy it should allow to water it like he. I don't know whether it is true or not, or maybe for publicity he gave that. I think anyway, you can see the beautiful architecture here. You see the beach, and now we are moving to the Santa Cruz Cathedral Basilica in Kochi. It's a few meters away from this Vasco House, as it is this Santa Cruz Cathedral Basilica. The Santa Cruz Cathedral Basilica in Fort Kochi is one of the 8 basilicas in India. It is located close to the renowned St. Francis Church, as I already told, and this basilica serves as the cathedral church of the Diocese of Cochin, the second oldest diocese of India. The history of Cathedral Basilica dates back to 16th century and begins with the arrival of the Portuguese missionaries in 1500. The construction was started with the Portuguese Viceroy Dom Francisco de Almeida, who got permission from the Dutch that Cochin king to build a church. The foundation stone was laid on May 1505, and that was the feast day of the invention of the Holy Cross. Hence, the church was named as Santa Cruz, and it was raised to the status of basilica by Pope in 1558. Later, after the Dutch victory in the year 1663, they I have already told that they destroyed almost all the churches. This church was also partially destroyed, but they kept it to keep their arms and ammunition here. And at the time of the battle with the British, it is after 100 years, there's a long gap. Uh, the British had destroyed it almost completely as the arms and ammunition were stored here. The present structure that you are seeing now, it was consecrated on 19 November 1905. It was in 1984 Pope John Paul II again raised the status of Santa Cruz Cathedral to a basilica. The interior of the basilica church is in Gothic style of. You can see the Gothic style of architecture with its overwhelming arches and beautiful altar. The main altar was decorated with renowned Italian painter Father Antonio Mussini, and it is a disabled Diamo of Mangalore. The construction is still, the contribution is still vivid in columns and decorated with the frescoes and murals, and several large canvas paintings, including a beautiful reproduction of the Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci, was a real piece for the eyes. It is on the top of this Santa Cruz Cathedral. Of course, the beautiful stained glass windows are very attractive. It is a very interesting place to visit. And now we are moving from here. It's about around 2 kilometers from this Santa Cruz Cathedral, another historical place called Dobi Cana. The Dobi Cana is a washerman's place. You know, it was the Dutch army, uh, with the permission of the King of Cochin, brought the washerman community from Tamil Nadu and the Malabar area to this place. The name of the place is it's called Veli in Fort Kochi. Uh, Actually, their intention was to wash the uniforms of the soldiers. And this community, they belongs to a community called One Man community. Formerly, this area it was an area of 13 acres, where each one of them was provided with individual ponds for washing. It is said that there were 10 ponds in this 13 acres of land, um, which were owned by the One community. In the year 1972, part of the land was taken for stadium, and a shed with washing facility was built for them. The first sight that welcomes us when we enter to Dobikana is a group of men and women ironing their clothes. That you can see. Um, some of the while some still use the traditional charcoal iron, a few have changed to electrical iron also. There are around 40 to 45 cubicles in 2 to 3 acres of land. Formerly these ponds were spread around this 13 acres of land. It was very dangerous also. So it was in 1972 the government decided to build these cubicles for each family. It's like there's a pond inside there, and each cubicle is given to different families, and a pool of water is also provided for each cubicle. And you can see the gray-haired men can men washing clothes in each cubicle, because the new generation, they are not ready to do this work. So only older people are doing this work now. It's very interesting scene. Here in the picture you are seeing the these washed clothes are put outside um, for soaking. They are doing the traditional mode of washing here. They use the traditional method of soaking the clothes in bleach and detergent water. These soft cloths are washed by beating on a lotus stone. In every cubicle, you can see a stone, lotus stone. They are using it. After that, starching the clothes is also done by dipping in the clothes. dipping the clothes in the traditional way in the water obtained from the boiled rice. You see, and here it's a interesting scene. Tourist taking charge of a vegetable shop, experiencing the sales. She asked the shopman to just to watch. She's selling. She's acting as a saleswoman. She's a lady from Israel. There was a group of tourists from Israel, and one of this lady, I think she's a teacher. She's acting and enjoying. And the fruit you can see that is a pineapple that is famous in Kerala, and this is our mangoes. It is market. It is in for Kochi market. Yeah. Okay, now from here we moving to the other part of uh, this mainland, this Fort Kochi, that is Matancheri. Matancheri and Fort Kochi are the major portion of the old city. So the actually the Matanjeri Palace or the Dutch Palace you see in the picture that is at Matanjeri. It's a close by place. This palace it looks very simple, but it is historically very important. It is a milestone, because it was built by the Portuguese and presented to the King of Kochi. It was built in the year 1555. It was given to that time king's name was Rajavira Kerala Varma. Even though it was built by the Portuguese, now it is known as Dutch Palace. Only because the Dutch people after they partially destroying the palace and then making extensions of the place here, and they began to call it Dutch Palace, and still it is known as Dutch Palace. This two-story palace, built in the traditional Kerala Malukattu, it is quadrangular in shape. It is rich in design, and the flooring is a mixture of burnt coconut shells, lime, plant juice, etc. But it is covered with wood. The ceilings, you can see the ceilings. Ceilings are beautiful. It is a beautiful architecture there. It's wood carved designs and glass cups also you can see in the dining hall. The interiors are decorated with aesthetic mural paintings also. So when we are in fact we are entering to the first floor of the palace. Downstairs we are directly entering to first floor. There on entering the palace, we are seeing the coronation hall. The coronation hall, it is a big hall. You can see beautiful architecture on the top side. It's a Portuguese uh, with the Kerala style, and you can also watch a few palanquins that is kept here. That is used during that time. And from the coronation hall will be, you can see the bed house, the bedroom of the Maharaja, the king. Now it is our mural paintings. All the mural paintings are done here, and these mural paintings it is done with vegetable colors. And the story of Hindu epic Ramayana is depicted here, right from the birth of King Rama and many the whole story, that's their life in the forest, then fighting with Ravana, recovering Sita, and the return. All these are exhibited, shown here, and it is very interesting if we watch it and enjoy these things. All the finished paintings, even though it is more than 350 years old, you see, it is still kept, it is still fresh, and it's not faded. till now. And also you can see this gallery that was recently opened. Some paintings and other information regarding the death period are also kept there in that room. And then again, we can see a small room that's used during that time. Exhibits, some photos, some coins, etc. exhibited here. And then besides the hall of a hall where the portraits of the Maharajas of Cochin are exhibited. And also you can see one uh, palanquin that is made of ivory. It's very interesting. It is said that it was used by the kings of Cochin Kingdom. And of course, there are some other exhibits like the arms and all the weapons used during the fighting time. Then there are some paintings of the Hindu gods Shiva, Parvati, Vishnu, and the Anandasena picture. There's one mural there, all very interesting, you see. And also in the downstairs, when we go down to the steep steps, you can see very interesting mural paintings there. These rooms were used by the queens there. Uh, of course, it is a very interesting place, and we have we have a few information about this palace, and of course, you're watching this Jewish street, we are on the way to the Jewish synagogue. Um, and the Jewish synagogue is very close to the Dutch palace. The king can see the Jewish synagogue from his palace. You see, it is very visible. There's only a wall. Uh, So we are moving to this Jewish synagogue, the oldest synagogue in the Commonwealth of countries. And the street, still it is kept old. In the olden times, when we pass through these streets, uh, it was very interesting. You get the smell of spices. It is filled with spices. Uh, our ginger, pepper, cardamom, all this spice smell attract us. But nowadays, all this business, there's not much godowns here. All these buildings converted to curio shops and antique shops, and it is a very interesting shopping center also. And when we pass to here, you can see the people moving around these uh, streets, and yet here is another old building. These kind of buildings are very common in the bazaar area. All these buildings are still kept. We will feel that we went years back, and old centuries. We feel like that. You can see many godowns here still. And these are the pictures of some antique shops you can see here. Say large exhibits are here. It's a very big business in Jewish street now. We have reached near this oldest synagogue in Matancheri. So you're seeing this picture of synagogue on the left side, and on the right side it is the inside of Jewish synagogue. Uh, Regarding this synagogue, it was built in the year 1568. It is almost 1,500 years after the beginning of Jewish connection with Kerala. From time immemorial, these Jewish people, the Greek, the Arabs, the Chinese, all had trade relations with our country. But this mostly these Jewish people were settled at Muziris. I have already mentioned about Muziris. That's some 35 kilometers away from north of Cochin. It was the destruction, the damage of the Moses fort during the flood in the year 1341. These people also, some people left that place also, and then it was a time of the Cochin, and people began to settle around here. Actually, the king of Cochin gave permission to build the synagogue here. And it was completed in 1568. There were a lot of Jewish people living here, but I think only two people are left here. All others, many people left for Israel with the formation of Israel, and only two people left here. Of them, the most famous Sarah Cohen, she had died 2 years back, oldest in the Commonwealth of countries. And inside the synagogue, on the floor, you can see the tiles, all Chinese tiles. That is, 1,000 tiles are there, all different all different designs. It was imported from Canton, China. And these glass ones you see, it was from Belgium. All the chandeliers. It is very nice. In older times, they used this coconut oil to burn light here. And also you can see the pulpit in the center. The pulpit, the Jewish priest used this pulpit, and the people all around. And these are the main facts about the synagogue. So we have just had idea about all the heritage buildings and heritage sites of this area, and it was very interesting. I wish to show two videos, but due to the shortage of time, it is not showing. That's Chinese fishing net and the carnival videos. So now I am concluding this. It was very interesting. I think we had a very interesting walk around this place. I hope that in the near future we will be able to do it in a real work. And thank you all very much. And thank you for your cooperation. I hope that you have enjoyed it. And thank you all on behalf of India City Wise. Okay, bye. Thank you.